What day of the week are chickens afraid of?
Don't say Friday.
Friday!
So, about Tales. Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a show that released on Paramount Plus in 2024, and honestly, that's about as much as you're gonna get out of the advertisements.
Spoiler alert for like pretty much every single Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise and iteration. Okay, bye.
It's been a month since the show came out now. I've watched through it in its entirety 3 or 4 times. What are we thinking? This show is weird, like really weird. Let's talk about it. If you're thinking about joining the TMNT fandom, now is the time. I wouldn't call this a full-on Turtle Mania 3, but we're definitely in a silver age of sorts when it comes to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Since Mutant Mayhem came out last year and was like the first TMNT movie to actually get consistently like great reviews, things have been looking up for the Turtles, especially for the Mutant Mayhem Turtles. With such a successful movie, they've been getting a ton of attention from Paramount with tons of toys, a video game on the way, and a tie-in TV show, which is a first. There has never been a tie-in TV show for a TMNT movie before, as crazy as that sounds. All 5 of the previous TMNT shows have been standalone, unrelated to any other TMNT media. But Tales of the TMNT specifically continues the story from Mutant Mayhem, sharing the same turtle designs, voice actors, characters, universe, everything. And it's done a great job of it too, translating the 3D art style of the movie into a really cool 2D art style. It looks like it came straight out of a sketchbook, which is kind of the vibe of the movie, and it's awesome that it's the same in 2D. I wish I could keep singing praises, but like this show is just weird. It's really, really weird, and it's hard to explain why it's weird. So that's why I'm making this video today, because like, I don't know, this show has a really strange aura, guys. Like everything about this show just kind of innately scares me, especially with the way it's been marketed and with some of the choices in the actual show itself. Real quick, before actually talking about the show itself, let's talk about the pre-release a little bit, because I'm not gonna lie, this show's pre-release cycle was insane. To start, the show was originally announced to come out in spring of 2024. Then that was moved to April of 2024. And then outside of a Super Bowl trailer and some toy leaks, there was nothing. So then the show got delayed to like the end of summer, August 2024. And for a while, outside of random leaks like Bishop being the villain and a woman in this iteration, or Metalhead being a thing, there really wasn't much to speculate or hype up about this show. On top of that, the promotional material didn't exactly have much variance when it came to what each promo showed. There was maybe one TV spot that even showed the second half of the show at all, while pretty much everything else reused the same batch of like, I don't know, 20 clips or so. I'm sure it wasn't literally 20, but like I kind of latched onto the show in the weeks before it released, so I know the pre-release footage by heart. It was just a weird vibe with the advertisements and promotion going into release, especially because of a certain leak that happened to be found right before release. The show itself has 2 tie-in books that retell the story, but in book form, you know, for kids, you know. I have the books, they're fine, they're okay. But coming into release, retailer websites allowed 1 chapter from each arc's book to be read, essentially amounting to 2 episodes, adapted to book form of course, being entirely leaked before the show came out. And these books had these framing devices that kind of stressed me out a little bit, because they implied that the show was non-canon. Me and everybody else who read the books tried our best to keep this information like under the radar. We didn't want to ruin the surprise for anybody who was waiting for the show specifically. We were also all holding out hope that like, you know, this would just be in the book and not in the actual show itself, because it'd be really weird to have an entire show where the entire thing is advertised to continue the story of the movie and develop the characters, and then it's just revealed to be non-canon. That would be really weird, right? The show did end up finally coming out at 3 a.m. on a Friday morning, and it was a show. So for the 2 people watching this video that somehow haven't seen the show, let me break down how it works real quick. The first season has 12 episodes, split up into 2 arcs of 6 episodes. 4 episodes of each story are devoted to telling the turtle story. The first 5 episodes of each arc are actually running at the same time in continuity. So episode 1 is running down the timeline at the same time as episodes 2, 3, 4, and 5. All 4 turtles get split up at the beginning of each arc, and all 4 get their own episode detailing their own mini adventure. The 5th episode is kind of a wild card for whatever the arc wants to do. So for one arc, it's Bishop's backstory leading into how the turtles ended up getting separated. In the other arc, it's what Splinter and April are doing throughout the story. If this formula continues, it kind of can just work for whatever it needs to for the arc. After all 5 of these episodes, everybody comes together in one final conclusion episode. Should be simple, right? Well, before I get into like the super critical stuff, let me talk about what I actually really like about this show. I love the animation. The animation in this show is so good. I've never seen a TV show that looks quite like this for the entire runtime. It looks like a kid's drawing, it looks like a comic book, it looks awesome. The animators did not hold back on the expressions for everybody. You know exactly what they're feeling in every moment, and it makes it really engaging to like even just pause and like scroll through all the frames individually. It's such a cool watch. The fight sequences especially are insane. The episode 12 Goldfin fight. It's one of those clips that Twitter just loves to repost over and over, and I watch it through every single time it appears on my feed. It is that good to me. The turtles themselves also are so fun to watch in the show. There's no character assassination, no weird moments for them or anything. Leo, Donnie, Raph, and Mikey all lead the show with ease, and it's great to watch. They all get arcs that are at the very least good, or in some cases fantastic, and several of them have not been explored that much in the Turtleverse, so it was nice seeing these new stories get told. The villains are also so fun to watch, especially the East River 3. I hope they come back in some other turtle iterations of some sort. They're so good. This version of Bishop is also good, although a little bit flawed, mostly just in the backstory. She's still fun to watch in the moment, and I love how you get to meet the East River 3 over time, see their individual like personalities and traits. I love this show. Let me say that again. I love this show. So when I criticize it, it comes from a place of love because I really see the potential in this show and how it could be better. That being said, what the hell were they thinking with that theme song? Oh my god, I am totally open and welcome the idea of a theme song that does not do the whole Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like rhythm and melody that we've heard for like 400 years at this point. Even an instrumental theme song sounds fun, but like, I don't know, as someone who loves and has a soft spot for dissonant songwriting, dissonant chords, like tonally clashing, whatever you want to call it, as someone who loves that kind of thing, I don't think this iteration of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was the place for it. The theme song is basically this kind of like punky, like breakdown and like instrumental kind of thing, and I don't think it sounds good, let alone as a theme song for this, but that's mostly an opinion piece, and everybody else is probably ragging on it a lot more than me, because as is, I can live with it. The theme song is probably the least of my worries, because like the stories in these episodes, or like the overarching themes, like the overarching episodes are very confusing in some aspects. There's a lot of plot holes, there's a lot of moments that just do not make sense to me. I could go on and on about it, but honestly, it's a kid's show and I can just let it go. A moment I will specifically pick out is Bishop's backstory. It's set up early on that she has a sister, Elena, who was born without legs, and it's implied and you can see that Bishop built prosthetic legs for her. But then in the finale episode of the first arc, the turtles are like, what's wrong? What's your tragic backstory? What happened? And she's just like, my sister was born without legs. And like, we already knew this. It really does feel like something's missing there. But that's just one nitpick out of like several others I can bring up. If you like the story, that's totally fine. It's just, to me, it just feels so confusing. One thing I will objectively criticize with the show is the pacing. Oh my god, this show's pacing is insane. Splitting up the turtles and having 4 episodes devoted to their individual episodes at a time is a great idea and something that's been done in TMNT before and resulted in one of the most popular TMNT episodes of all time, same as It Never Was. Like, this storytelling method can work, but the way they went about it, especially for the first arc, is just so odd. At the very beginning, you're kind of shorthand told that an explosion happened at the cargo bay and separated the turtles, and each of them get their own retelling of the story from their point of view. So for 4 episodes, you're watching the same story play out with some slight variations between each, but you get the general idea. You can pretty much tell exactly what happened at the shipyard, or at the very least what's needed for the story to progress. And then episode 5 just goes back and just shows it for like a full 9 minutes. When at this point in the show, all 4 of the turtles have had their mini arcs and are supposed to be getting back together to like fight the big bad in the end. And it's just like, it's just paused for this to see something we pretty much already got explained. Like, yeah, it's funny that Leo was completely lying about being the one to step up to the hologram when him and his brothers totally made Mikey do it. But like, why now? Why are we watching this now? I get wanting to just jump right into the action, but I think trying to prioritize like revealing Bishop over time instead of just showing the start of the separation at the beginning was a choice that just didn't work out for the first arc. I like the second arc's pacing a lot more, but oh my god, does it have some problems. Not as many or as bad in my opinion, but certainly some problems. In the 4th of 6 episodes, we watch Johnny go down into the sewers and take on an alligator, just completely unrelated from anything else that's going on. To drive the overall plot forward, we just watch flashbacks of what the East River 3 did when they first came onto land. And like, yeah, it's cool to see the backstory, but could Donnie's episode have mattered at all to anything? He doesn't fight into the East River 3, he just kind of punches an alligator, like locks his jaw open, survives, talks to Wingnut a bit. This episode is bad. This is my least favorite episode of the series. I don't like Donnie Goes Deep. Overall, the pacing for the second arc was a win, but like that moment just felt so strange to me. Speaking of strange, Splinter. What were they thinking? For the entire first arc, Splinter speaks in nothing but squeaks, what they describe as the vermin language. In universe, it's because he's trying to speak with Scumbug more, in a way that makes her feel more comfortable. Outside of the universe, it's because they didn't want to recast Jackie Chan. Why not just recast Jackie Chan? Because honestly, I prefer vermin squeaks over whatever they were thinking for the second arc. The entire storytelling framing device for the second arc is so weird, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but for now, what I will say is that having Splinter voice acted by Raphael in universe in the style of a Batman voice creates so much dissonance to what would otherwise be an amazing Splinter arc. The Splinter April Focus episode would be like top tier TMNT ever for me if it wasn't for the fact that he sounds like this for the entire time.
What you fail to realize is that this rat is the deadliest rat there's ever been.
I hate it so much. It makes me cringe sometimes how bad it is. This is what I mean when I say the show just has such a weird aura. Because we're watching a Splinter have an entire thought-provoking emotional arc while voice acted by Raph and sounding like Batman. Like, it's just strange to watch. Like, how do I explain this to anybody who's not like a diehard TMNT fan and can just like roll with it? Because even as a diehard TMNT fan, I'm not really rolling with it that well, I'm not gonna lie. Now, for the show overall, with context in universe and outside the universe, I think the strangest and potentially worst decision they made is the framing device. That's what we're gonna call it, because what else do we call this? Essentially, the show is non-canon, even in universe. The first arc is Leo's comic book that he wrote himself. The second arc is, bear with me, a journal assignment by April of an interview of Splinter talking about a storm that Raph has dubbed over in CGI, like edited, an entire epic adventure and battle or whatever, with Splinter sounding like Batman. Even in the show, they kind of have to mention just how like weird the second arc is specifically too.
Dude, you're literally talking to yourself.
No, Dad is talking to me as Batman.
Do you realize how insane that is?
You're just jealous because this is so good. Keep playing.
Like they keep bringing up like, oh my gosh, why does Splinter sound like Batman? Oh, just roll with it. Like in universe, it's crazy. This whole framing device ended up blindsiding a lot of people on release day. As someone who saw the book leaks, I wasn't fazed, but I saw a lot of people and friends who were like, why? Why is it not canon? Why not just have it be canon? Like, yeah, it's a tie-in TV show for a movie that's getting a sequel, and I'm sure that it was mandated, like, don't do anything crazy, like bring the Shredder in, because we're gonna do that for the second movie, keep things consistent and at a stable level. I was totally ready for that myself, but like, the thing you notice about a lot of these tie-in shows is that they don't bother to explain because kids will figure it out. Oh, why was that one character from the King Julian Netflix show not in the newest Madagascar movie? What? Like, kids don't need it spelled out to them. They figure it out after like the second time this happens. I think going through all these leaps and bounds to try and like justify the show's existence as non-canon was a choice that I don't really like. And part of me wonders how last minute it was, because like this show has a lot of moments, especially in the second arc, where it's like the first arc clearly happened. Like Pigeon Pete still exists. They bring up some things that happened in the Storm arc, and overall this whole framing device just feels super tacked on, like last minute. None of the promotional material even references it, which is the craziest part. Like there's so much advertisement potential you could have had for like saying like, oh, this is Leo's comic book, this is their stories, and they kind of just avoided it in every single possible way until release night. Now with all this weirdness and like strange vibes across this whole show and its entire like promotional cycle and like the actual show itself and everything about it, you'd think that like certain TMNT fans would be like livid about it and like complaining every day, but honestly, I haven't seen much about this show positive or negative. With the lack of actual promotion for the show, nobody is really talking about it, and that's kind of sad, because at the end of the day, it is a good, if not great, TV show, and I think it deserves to be watched and get successful. It really is a shame how this show is getting treated by Paramount, just not being promoted at all. So many people put so much hard work and effort into animating and like writing and voice acting and everything, and it's just like, oh, it just happened. The show came out, it was on the front page for a day or two, and now here we are, a month later, and what do we say now? Like, I still see people online being like, wait, a new TMNT show came out? Like, it feels like after the 2012 show, every single TMNT show, including Rise and Tales, is just cursed to be eternally forgotten by Paramount and Nickelodeon. I wish all Paramount executives to ignore TMNT. This complete lack of promotion and discussion just leaves this show kind of feeling empty. Like, sure, Rise was underpromoted and only got 2 seasons in a movie, compared to most other TMNT shows, which got at least 5 seasons a lot of the time. But it really feels like there's no impact at all from Tales, even though it tried so hard to do so so much different from the other TMNT shows. I don't know. Hopefully they promote it more on the second season, which has been confirmed at some points and potentially deconfirmed at others. So we'll see where that goes. Who knows what surprises are in store. Maybe the 2026 Mutant Mayhem sequel will like have Pigeon Pete in it or something. I know I sound like I'm just hating on the show, but I really do love it a lot. I wouldn't have watched it 4 times all the way through otherwise. Tales of the TMNT is a hilarious show, both intentionally and unintentionally outside of the show, and regardless of what anyone else thinks, I love it. I love watching this show. I just really wish some certain things didn't happen and some other certain things did, because with some editing, we have a top tier TMNT show on our hands. Anyway, here's my ranking of the episodes. Donnie's robot arc episode is 1,000,000 times better than his storm arc episode, and I think it's really funny how they're on opposite ends of the tier list. Anyway, that's all. Bye.
Actually, I'm still learning how to count. So you start with 1. It's crazy. 2 follows 1. You will never guess what comes next.